Hello, I am Mudita, and welcome back to Satisfactory. This is episode 22 of the load balance playthrough, and today I'm going to tackle turbo motors. I now have all of the alternate recipes available. I'm going to utilize the iron wire, coke steel ingot, steel rotor, heavy oil residue, and turbo pressure motor alt recipes. These are great alternate recipes that save on raw resources and power, and some make things a little bit more convenient due to the location. I'll only be making 2 turbo motors per minute. However, with the only uses for me to have them in storage are for Mark III miners and particle accelerators, this will be more than enough. I'm going to be using this spot and these nodes. Let me try to briefly explain what's going on here. So as you can see, there's a couple gold boxes, and those are the parts that we are importing. So with the radio control units and the fuse modular frames, I realistically don't need 6 a minute in storage, and so I'm going to siphon off 2 and 1 respectively. And then we'll bring over 24 aluminum ingots from the aluminum factory next door. I'll need to turn the aluminum ingots into empty fluid canisters so that I can package the nitrogen gas. I'll be using the same resource well as the fuse modular frames because that pipe still has plenty of space. I'll be using the same crude oil well as my aluminum factory to siphon off a little bit so that I can make a little bit of petroleum coke and utilize the coke steel ingot alternate recipe as there isn't a whole lot of coal in the swamp. I'll then use that steel to make steel pipes, and some of the iron will get turned into the iron wire. I'll then make rotors and stators, turn those into motors, and we have all of our parts to put together the turbo motor using the turbo pressure motor alternate recipe. This factory is going to require a surprisingly few amount of machines, so let me run through what I'm going to need. With all of these machines only requiring 1 each, I don't have blueprints for so few, so I'm going to need 1 constructor, 2 single assemblers, 1 manufacturer, 1 packager, 2 single refineries, and 1 foundry. As far as the blueprints go, I'll need 1 set of this 4 smelter blueprint, 3 sets of this 4 constructor blueprint, and 3 sets of the 2 assembler blueprint. I'm now going to build out the tower and get some of the things bussed over. With the tower and belt buses in place, let me show you what I did. So I've got the petroleum coke, the aluminum ingots, the fused modular frame, and the radio control units all being sunk right here, so it'll be real easy to plug that in. And that sushi belt's just going to plug into this wall hole and feed right into this smart splitter. Now let me go over to the train station and show you what that looks like on the inside. We are now in the logistics area of the train station. Here's the line of 6 radio control units, so I'm just sending that into a splitter, splitting it all 3 ways, so we've got 2, 2, and 2, and we're combining that with this one. So with the fuse modular frames, I just needed to split that twice. So we've got 2, 2, and 2, and then that 2 is getting split, merging back. So 5 is going back to storage for the fuse modular frames, only 4 for the radio control units, but those are getting merged together. My 1 and 2, along with the 24 of the aluminum ingots, are just being merged together, and there's our sushi belt. So let me head to the other side of the swamp and show you how the petroleum coke's being made. Here we are at our crude oil well pressurizer, where we're making the petroleum coke for the aluminum factory. We just needed to split off an extra 18 per minute, because this is a small amount of heavy oil residue that needs to be made. Only 1 refinery for each the heavy oil residue and the petroleum coke, each underclocked to 60%. So this is where our 72 petroleum coke is coming from. Now let's get to building some machines. And now it's time for all the belt work. So let's start with clocking the miner. So with this, we're going to do the long math. This is probably unnecessary, I realize it, but sometimes just out of habit. So I need 169 and 0.77 repeating. So to do that, we're going to do 169 plus 7 divided by 9. And then we're going to divide that by the default of 240 and multiply that by 100, and that should give our percentage. And that should be about as accurate as I can make this. So now to split this up, because normally you would just smelt it all and then I would split up the ingots. However, because we are using the coke steel ingot, this actually uses iron ore instead of the iron ingot like the solid steel does. So I need to split off the amount that I need for the two different parts right here. The two different amounts of iron ore that I need is 97.77 repeating and 72. So obviously that 72 is going to be a lot easier to work with. So we're going to start with a smart splitter. And then we're going to go from there into doing a 5-way split. So the reason for that is if I take 120 and divide it by 5, I've got 24. If I divide 24 by 3, I've got 72. So I need to do a 5-way split where 3 goes one way and 2 will get grouped up with the rest of this. So since this is a Mark III belt out of there, so since there's only about 170 out of the 270 on a Mark III, we're going to do this with the little belt trick where it's going to be half of it Mark III, and then the Mark II right here will limit it to our 120, which is what we want to work with. So straight ahead is any, to the left will be overflow. And then from here we do our normal kind of 5-way split. So we're just going to go ahead and put a splitter here. Let's see, we'll do a splitter here and a merger there. Since we're doing a 5-way split and I know we're working with 120, that means that this is going to have to be a Mark III because we're going to loop back something. So no matter what, it's going to need more than a Mark II. So from here, with this first splitter, we split it in half, which means we're going to need Mark II on both of these. And this is going to be the half that we work with. So this is going to be our 2/5 right there, which means this one needs to cycle back to that first merger. And this right here is our 3/5. So we can go ahead and just grab our floor hole. Is it right there? Yeah. Right in the middle of the foundation. Grab our Mark II. And so this right here so there's our 72. So with the rest of this, I just need to grab another merger. We'll put that there. So this I know has 48, so Mark I is fine. And then Mark I is fine for this line as well. So this right here has our 97.777. Alright, and that's the first split, so let's move on to the next floor. With the smelters, this is intaking that 97.77 repeating, so to get the most accurate number, we're just going to go ahead and do the long math here. 97 plus 7/9 divided by the 4 machines, divided by the default of 30, multiply that by 100. And there's our 24.44 repeating. So we just need to bring that iron ore up from the floor below. So we go ahead and grab our Mark II lifts, put that right there. Plugs in nicely, and we can just bring that down. So we'll run this on the roof. Moving on to the next floor. So let me set the recipes for these three. With the packaged nitrogen, I'm going to need 24 per minute. The constructor is going to make the 24 empty fluid tanks. And the assembler is going to be making our 1 pressure conversion cube a minute. And let's get these inputs plugged up. So it should be relatively easy. With the smart splitter, I know that this one is going to need to be the aluminum. And it doesn't really matter which one is which here. So let's just do radio control units. And then fuse modular frames. And there's all the inputs for this floor. So let's move on to the next one. Just our singular foundry. And we'll need to underclock this to 96%. As far as the inputs for these go, it's pretty easy since I know the petroleum coke is coming up through this fold right there. It means that I can go ahead and just run these basically right there. And let's make it symmetrical. So let me see where the iron ore is coming up from. I guess on a floor hole. Let's go with that, and then let's just run it to as far out as we can go there. Okay, now that I've got the parts, let's connect this. There we go. Alright, so now I can plug that up to there. So if I want to make it symmetrical, we'll just have this run the same. And there we go. Moving on to the next 2 floors are actually 8 constructors, all going to be making our iron wire. So I need 176 wire across 8 machines. So nice even 22 for each one. As far as load balancing the 2 floors, it should be pretty easy. I'm just going to go ahead and set this right in the middle. Let's see, so each one needs 22.22. So mark 1 into there is fine. We're just going to bring them up right through here. So for this we need mark 2. This is our 97.77. So we plug that into there. And then as far as bringing it up to the next floor, do that right in the center of the foundation. And nice right angle. And there we go. There's our iron wire load balanced. On to the next floor. This floor is making our steel pipes. And I need 64 across the 4 machines. So 16 for each one. And so for these, we're just going to use the next spot over next to this lift. Bring that down to here. So we're dealing with 96 steel ingots, so mark 2. We can go ahead and... which floor this floor. And there are the steel ingots fed into the constructors for the steel pipes, and that floor is done. And let's move on to the first set of assemblers. So these are going to be making the steel rotor recipe. I need 8 rotors in total, so each one is going to be clocked to 4. Let me go ahead and set the recipes for these ones as well. So these 4 assemblers are going to be making our stators. And this time we're just using the default recipe. Keep it the same as the rotors. This floor with the singular assembler is going to be making our motors. At a rate of 4 a minute. And the top and final floor is going to be using the turbo pressure motor alternate recipe. And we're going to underclock this to 2. Nice even numbers to work with. The easier of the 2 parts to load balance is definitely the steel pipe, so let's just go ahead and do that. With the rotors needing 16 and the stators needing 48, it's actually a really easy split. We just need to combine 3 of these into one group, and then one machine is already making the 16, so that's a nice and easy split. The wire, on the other hand, is a different story. So with the wire, this is where I made things way more complicated than I needed to. It was more of just a, can I do it? And things get out of hand when I ask myself that question. So each machine is putting out 22 wire. So each floor has 4 machines. So I've got 88 wire to work with on each floor. Now I need to split this between 48 wire going to steel rotors, 128 will go to the stators. So if I've got 88 on each floor and I need 48, man, if it was 44, this would have been just so easy, wouldn't it have? But instead, if we take 88 and we divide it by 11, because that's a fun split, and then we can multiply that by 6, we get our 48. So really easy. I just need to split this in an 11-way split, have 6 go one way and 5 go the other way. How hard could that be? So to split something 11 ways, we're just going to split it 12 and then cycle one of them back to this merger. So let's start with a splitter right there, because this is going to have to use kind of multiple floors, if you will. So let's see. Since we're dealing with 88, that's going to go through. So even with the amount that's cycling back, Mark II is going to be fine. So yeah, so that's our 88. So this is where we do our first split. So if we're going to split this in half, and this is going to be a 12-way split, normally it would be 6 and then 6, right? So one of these is going to have to be 6, but we loop back one of them, right? So we're going to have that be that way. So right here is essentially our 6, what is going to be 11s. So this right here is going to be our 48. So let's just go ahead and just put that there. And our sign. So ultimately, this is our 48. So now with this half, I just need to split this 6 ways and get one of them back into this merger. So we've got that one there. So out of this, we need 6 splits. So we're going to split it twice, essentially. One of them is going to get split all 3 ways. So this is the one that's going to get split all 3 ways. So for this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a conveyor pole there. And that way I can snap it to the pole first, and then this. So we just want to make sure we delete that conveyor pole, and then that will just make a nice right angle right into the merger. So that is the part that needed to cycle back. So now what I need to do is group everything else up. So to do that, we're just going to take another merger and let's stick it right up here. So with this one, I needed to use all three of the outputs. So with the same sort of trick, I can snap it to the pole first, spin it around, and then create my short little lift. And then from there, we can send that into the merger. And then with this one, I need to do the same thing, but with this one, I need it to be pointed sideways. So we're gonna line it up with the middle. This actually needs to come out 2 and then 1. The total is gonna be 3. But I'm also just going to need to connect it to the machine first, spin it around, and now I get my right angle. It can be very finicky, and that's why I have the standalone ones when I have them just not being attached to a machine. Just make different versions as blueprints, and it'll save you so much headache. But with dealing with the machine, sometimes you just gotta kind of work with it. So that gets all of that. Now the one other piece was this one. This one needed to get split both ways. So to do that, we're just going to connect it to... We're just going to connect the splitter to the merger. And last but not least, I'm going to take a merger. We're going to stack it up twice here. Delete this middle one. We're also going to grab a floor hole, throw that down there. So the floor below has 88 also. We're going to plug that into this merger. And this bit right here has 40. Oh, so close. So we're just going to place that there temporarily and delete it. There we go. Alright, and there is the way complicated way that I probably could have explained better. But we split off 48 from 88. That's fun. So let's work on the rotors. So with these, we just need the steel pipes and the wires, but since we already have everything split, it's just plugging it all up. So let's just go ahead and bring that up from here. So it's only 16 total steel pipes, so we can just plug that in. And now we need our 48 wire. So for this, I think we'll just bring it right up here. So just got to make sure that's lined up. Perfect. And bring it up to 1, 2. And we'll just place our floor hole afterwards. It all works the same. So there is our steel pipes and our wire. So that is rotors done. On to the next floor, all of our stators. So with these, should be pretty easy, since again, we already have everything split. So let's just go ahead and fill in these. So I believe everything can be, let's see, oh, actually, so the wire is gonna need to get changed to Mark II. So with these, we're just going to run some floor holes down this way. Alright, so that floor has the pipes, and then we just need to bring this one down. And that is where we're going to get the wire. So right here, I forgot to label, is our 128 wire. So this is going to be a Mark III. And Mark III. Okay, so if that's the Mark III, that means these two are Mark II. And this one, everything is fine being Mark I. And we'll just snake that around there. Not a big deal. Almost forgot. So to bring this up, we just gotta flip this merger around. And then we gotta grab our Mark II. So that should be, yeah, the 88 wire from this floor being plugged in like I was planning on. Alright, so that is both rotors and stators done. So motors are going to be super easy. So to bring those up, I am just going to bring those up from way out here. Why not? And there we go. Nice and symmetrical. So, the last floor, let's bring it all together for our turbo motors. Well, the way we're going to do that is we're going to do most of it on the floor below. So I just want to put floor holes for all four since we've only got one machine. And everything is definitely Mark 1. Perfect. Okay, so now I just need to plug everything up into those slots right there, and then we're just going to create another bus, and I think we're just going to go just all the way down. We'll just have a lift bring it all the way down somewhere into here, and then we'll have another bus take it all the way back to the train so we can send that to storage. So let me finish those lifts and connect everything to power, and I'll be right back. Voila! There is our lift to show off our 2 turbo motors a minute coming down the tower and then being sent on our bus to the train station, and that'll be sent to storage with all the rest of the items. So let's go ahead and delete all this, plug it into the factory, and flip the switch. So I think I can delete all of this in 2 deletes. Get that one too. Guess I could actually do all of this at once. Make it as easy as possible. There we go. So plug that into there. That into there. And start the timer. there they are. The first 2 turbo motors. And it looks like the machine's just staying on, so thankfully, since I was able to bring over so many of the parts ahead of time and have them syncing right at the beginning of the factory, a pretty quick startup time for this thing. Now that the factory's been running for a while, I've got a steady flow of the 2 per minute of the turbo motors. Let me hop over to the train station next to the storage and show you how I split that. And here we are next to the storage. So this is the train station that brings in all of those goodies from the swamp. So we've got our cooling systems, control rods, fuse modular frames, here's the radio control units. So I went ahead and just used this train because these are only coming in at a rate of 6 per minute, whereas those are 10 and 16. So this cart had the most space, and these smart splitters are just set for the 3 different items. So thankfully, really easy to send the turbo motors over here, and this was the complicated way I decided to split off my 2 per minute. Obviously, I very easily could have just ran the one belt over and called it a day, and it would just drop off at a rate of 60 per minute whenever the train did run. But, you know, I'm a sucker for liking to see everything moving. So this is what I did. One splitter using a Mark I belt, so we go from 20, 20, and 20. So out of the 20, we go 10 and 10. Out of this one, we now have a merger because, as you guessed it, we're going to do a 5-way split. So we just do the typical into one merger. This has 3/5 going into it here. This has 2/5 and the part that cycles back. So 1/5 goes this way, merges up. So now this is 4/5. And this is 1/5. So our 1/5 out of the 10 that we had on that belt is our 2 per minute. So that's how we split that off. And this is what a load balance playthrough does to you. But for me, seeing my nice steady flow of all of my progress is just satisfying. I now have 2 turbo motors per minute headed to storage with a smart splitter to send the overflow to an awesome sync. And that is mission complete. I wanted to make all the parts that are meant for storage at decent rates that are manageable to build and more than enough so that there's no worry about running out. Now, it's time to build the last 4 space elevator parts. But I think I'm going to ramp things up just for fun. I'm not going to be maxing anything out or setting any records, but I did pick some rates that I think are fairly ambitious. And to do that, I'm going to start with building some factories to handle the large amounts of plastic, rubber, aluminum, and that sort of a thing. So first up will be a factory making more than 1,500 plastic per minute, so look forward to that. And thanks for watching.